Alrighty, this time we have the Hifiman Sundara joining us on the table of marble here. And these are actually really interesting headphones. I found them to be quite a surprise when I heard these. Usually Hifiman has been kind of known for some really terrible build quality and some pretty decent sound. Definitely decent sound, but real questionable build quality, which overall is kind of a deal breaker for most people. Now, Hifiman was like, yeah, we're not going to have that. We want people to listen to our headphones and actually enjoy owning a pair without feeling like it's going to break within a day or two. And they chose to improve on their quality, and they chose to upgrade their designs and their comfort and everything. And I think they're doing a pretty decent job. So let me jump into it here. You get with this box here. The box is very, very nice. I'm going to lift this here. It has a cover there. In gold, you read Sundara. Wow, I can't believe it has this much dust. It's been like 2 weeks. I'm just surprised at the dirt. Anyway, the back of it doesn't really have anything interesting. It's just it's kind of a lift box. You know, the way like Apple products are and most other things, because everyone likes to copy Apple for some reason. Anyway, the inside of this box right here is felt. It's this nice little material. It's got this little pocket here. And the pocket to put in the headphones, of course. It's very nice. I think it makes a pretty decent storage option. And the way that you could do this, if you don't want to just have the box laying on a table, which kind of makes it redundant, kind of, useless, you can do this. This right here is one of my headphone stands. Speaker stands that I really don't use. I use one of these for my HD600s, and now, hey, those are my legs. And now, what you can do is use these to clamp the sides of the box. Not too hard, just enough to hold it in place, and you can keep it like that, Now you got this floating thing that really doesn't take up too much space, but it's towards your headphones, and it's not a big deal. So you can do something like that to store these. And do keep in mind, though, when they are extended, they will not store away perfectly like this. The cups will be up here like this, and the headband will just go slightly in, which is good, so that it's not just a headphone sitting on top of a box, making it pointless as well. So you can do that. And then, on top of that, you put the top part of the box over it, semi-covered, so that it's easy to remove and stuff like that without damaging the headphones. So, great design here. I really like that. Now, let's jump into the build. This build is where I'm saying that Hifiman's really improving upon. So check it out. You got metal 571. No, just metal. I don't know if it's aluminum or not, but surely feels like it's at least, if it is a plastic, it is so good a plastic that it feels like metal. It is like very, very, very nice. So it's metal mostly all over, except for the what appears to be kind of a fake leather suspension strap and the hinges that attach the cups to the headband. These are definitely made out of plastic, and the type of plastic that these use, it's kind of cheap. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of cheap, but it's not a deal breaker. I'm just pointing it out that everything's so amazing on the build quality, and then you get to this and you're wondering, like, come on, Hifiman, you were really close. But, whatever. The connectors here, they are twin 3.5 millimeters that attach to, and let me bring out the cable here. Ugh. Terrible. Twin 3.5 millimeters, as you can see right here, that attach to a 3.5 right-angled plug that has a 1/4 inch adapter on it. And while this thing is very sturdy and this is very nice, robust, very well built, the cable itself is absolute garbage. Like the biggest garbage headphone that I've seen, or one of, at the very least, that I've seen come stock with a headphone before. I absolutely hate it. Why? It is thick AF, and not in a good way. Believe me, I'd know. It is too damn thick to use mobile. It is too damn short to use on a desktop, unless you're sitting right in front of your computer, right in front of the monitor, and your amp is literally right next to the monitor, give or take. You cannot have this like a few feet away from you. This is just not going to work. So you can't use it mobile because it's too damn thick and retains too much memory. And you can't use it on your desktop because it's too short. So boo. Boo on the cable. I hate it. I hate it. Thankfully, that is probably one of the worst parts of the headphone. The part that you can actually replace and remove and detach. Thankfully. What else? Let's jump into comfort now. I'm not going to lie, these are not the most comfortable headphone I've ever heard. Worn. They are one of the, I don't want to say most uncomfortable, but it's definitely not up there for most comfortable. It tries to be, and the headband, the suspension strap definitely makes it more comfortable. This right here is super comfortable. I love that. But when you get to the cups here, because of the design that they used, the cups can only swivel vertically, like so. They cannot swivel horizontally. And that really sucks for, when you position it on your head and stuff. You're kind of stuck with some very, very little adjustment option there. And for most people, it will work, but for some people, it's just not quite as good. Me being some of those people, that just didn't really sit right with me. But, well, that's just me. The clamp, kind of hard, honestly. Not up there in terrible as far as the clamp goes. It's give or take. I have a large head anyway. As far as the suspension straps go, the hinges, I bumped this up to a 7. Right now, if this is a 0, I bump it up to a 7 out of, I think probably like 8 or 9, something like that. So people with big heads, don't worry about it. This will fit your head. You won't have a problem with it. But that comfort issue does arise from it, and it makes you kind of question whether it's worth it or not as far as the comfort goes. But we'll get to that at the end in the overall, once we know everything about this headphone. So, amping. You can actually power these off of a smartphone because the impedance level is 37 ohms and the sensitivity is 94 decibels. So, in most planars, I've seen that even though it says low impedance and high sensitivity, you can't really power them off of a smartphone very well. With these, I'm happy to say that you can, and they get really close to their maximum potential. I mean, with exceptions of like, $1,000 DAC and $1,000 amp, that it's kind of like the snake oil territory. These get really close to their maximum potential when being powered off of a decent smartphone. You don't even have to have a V20 or a V30 or V50, whatever they're at now. You can just use my S9 Plus. I use that, and these get to, I want to say, at least 90% of their potential off of my smartphone. That is really impressive, especially for a planar headphone. So kudos to you, Hifiman. Kudos. Now let's jump into the sound, the juice, okay? The bass. My God, the bass. Easily the best part of this headphone. The bass is just, it's so mouth-wateringly delicious. I mean, this thing, God, I mean, planars are great with bass, but this thing takes it to an entirely different level. It's not like a warm bass, it's a powerful bass. Unlike most planars that I've tried, like the LCDs, sure, they have that power in the bass, but it's also really lush and kind of slow. No, these have speed. Like, the bass is fast, but it's also hard and intense. Not like a massive V shape, just a bit of an elevation. Unlike most planars, however, they do have a little bit of roll-off in the bass area, as opposed to being totally flat. But that roll-off is nothing to worry about. It's almost like a planar headphone that is advanced and better than a dynamic headphone technologically. But it kind of pays homage to the slight roll-off that most dynamic headphones have. So nothing to worry about. I'm just saying it is a little bit present. They extend super deep, like I said, with that little bit of roll-off. Genres that are good with these headphones. Definitely pop, electronic, metal music. All that is fantastic with these headphones. I mean, wow. Like, my jaw was, I had to lean back on my chair and just think about what is music. This was one of the headphones that make you question, what have you been listening to all this time, and why have you wasted money on anything that costs lower than this price point? Why would you ever waste money on that? That's what these headphones do to you, as far as that is concerned, man. Genres like rock, jazz, and others, it is still very nice, and that slight accentuation in the bass, and I'll get to that treble area too, it really adds to it. It adds to it without calling these V-shaped or without calling them overbearingly, I guess, a childish sound signature. These are still close to neutral, but while having that planar juice that makes them so good. It's impressive is what it is. The mids and the vocals, easily the worst part of this headphone right there. They're still decent. They're doable. They do stuff. They're I guess nice. But they have they're kind of laid back and distant on these headphones, and they create somewhat of a void effect that I would originally positively call it as creating kind of like you're listening to speakers, that kind of effect. But then I read online someone mentioning, I think it was like on Reddit or something, they mentioned it was kind of created like a hallway effect when you listen to these headphones. They sound like you have speakers or the people live, but like at the end of the hallways, left and right, and you're kind of standing at the middle, like waiting for the elevator per se. And for a few days, I could not stop hearing that, because that's kind of really accurate if you're looking at these from a negative standpoint. But from a positive standpoint, you could argue that they sound distant, but in the way that, like, as if you were listening to speakers where they're loud and you can hear them, but they're not so up close and personal with you. They keep their distance, and they make it sound very wide and spacious. So I really like that. The vocals have somewhat of a dead timbre to them. They kind of sound like the singer's having an off day, like, oh yeah, I'll sing. Yeah, sure, I'm at the right volume, but I'm not really going to put all my heart into it. That's kind of what the singers sound like off of these. Cellos have a really, really thick sound to them, kind of I don't know, they sound tired. The midsection really just kind of sounds like they're hungover, and even though they're playing the notes accurately and correctly, they're not really feeling it. That's the impression that I got from listening to the mids on this headphone. Acoustic guitars definitely sound colored. I would not say close to neutral or close to being natural, but I wouldn't say extremely far from it either. So, yeah, if you're a mids guy, if you're into vocals, if that's what really floats your boat, these might not do it for you, but we'll get to that at the end. Now, the treble. This is probably the second best thing these do. The treble is like, it has this kind of like glittery silver yet sweet sound to them that planars do. Except the difference here is that most planars kind of tend to roll off that treble and kind of keep it laid back, whereas these, they're not exactly forward per se, but they're slightly above neutral as well. So it's got a ever so slight V-shape effect going on. Maybe U-shaped, probably U-shaped. It's so slight, but it's very nice. The details in the mid to highest regions of the treble have such a sweet and silvery timbre to them. It's just, they're not overbearing either. It's like the most you can go without having the treble be overbearing. That's what it felt like to me. They sound somewhat airy, not the airiest I have heard, but I think that contributes largely to the fact that they're a little that region where the air lands is ever so slightly forward, just ever so slightly. So whatever you hear is a little accentuated there, on top of being present in that region. I really like that. I don't think it's too much, yet I think there's something there. So I do like that a lot. Instruments like cymbals and the hi-hats, they really pop on these. They become one of the highlights of whatever you're listening to, and it's super nice. I really enjoyed that. Soundstage, here's where it gets interesting. It's very different from most headphones I've heard, or actually all of the headphones I've heard. I've heard some really wide headphones, for example, the HD800S, and with them, I could say they sound wide, but they don't quite sound like these. These, although not the widest I've heard, have a very they sound like speakers. They don't sound like headphones at all. They sound like you're listening to a pair of monitors or a pair of speakers, whatever. It's so surreal, really. I mean, like with electronic music, it almost feels like you're at the rave, with the exception of the no overpowered bass or anything, and the music is like loud enough to where you want it, not to where you're like bleeding from the ears. But it feels so wide and massive, like you're at a rave, but not like a headphone, like you're actually there. On the flip side, that effect could have some tracks sound a little distant, a little like it's missing. It's kind of not quite there, you know. It's just a little too far away. Like no matter how much you turn it up and your ears are like, dude, stop, it hurts. The tracks sound a little distant, just a little distant. The imaging. Oh, the imaging is so beautiful. These are the types of headphones that make you wonder, like, why would I spend more than $1,000 on a headphone when these things exist? It is that type of good. Just so detailed, so accurate, and so jaw-droppingly good. That's how great the treble, the soundstage, the imaging is on these. It's just the Crypt of the Necrodancer OST. Great electronic music, some metal music, some rock music. I mean, I could not stop listening to it. It was so addicting. It was surreal, just amazing. A wonderful experience with the imaging that these create, especially in something like electronic music, where if done correctly, imaging, soundstage, positioning, it can be flawless. It can be perfect and impressive. So, overall, these do a lot right and little wrong. But stay away from them if you are into vocals, or at the very least, just give them a shot, and then you just get rid of them if you don't like them. The detail really gives endgame headphones a run for their money. Just so impressive, really. And the overall sound is vibrant and punchy, but a little distant with some tracks, like I said. If you buy these, keep in mind you are going to have to buy a replacement cable for them, for sure, because this thing is garbage, absolute garbage. Do not use that cable. It sucks. Use it if you must until the new one arrives, I guess. They're easy to power off of a phone with very similar quality to using a dedicated DAC and amp from a desktop. So that's definitely a plus if you need to take these somewhere. But do not take these out of the house, because I guarantee you will not like the open back sound in public. You just won't. These are a must-try headphone for like a secondary planar, or if you have to stick to like a more budget-oriented, like no endgame for you. these are probably your end game. These are just something else. You need to try them. You really need to try them. And yeah, that's all I got. Hifiman, holy crap. Congratulations, you are making some strides here, and I am excited to see more of you, more from you. You're not perfect. You, like I said, these things have some flaws, but holy damn, just massive difference, massive improvements over what I've seen in some previous models. So kudos to you.